Hello everyone, welcome to yet another program on this channel. And today I am getting to you a very inspiring aviator, Air Marshal SRK Nair. He is the former CNC of Training Command of Indian Air Force. And on this day, on June 20th in 2003, that is 17 years back, he accomplished something very rare. He undertook a mission, the first ever transpolar flight to be undertaken by any Indian, and it was a very significant mission for the Indian Air Force. Air Marshal SRK Nair is retired now, but today he will join us here in Rameshwaram. Rameshwaram is the office of Inspired Indian Foundation, as all of you know. And let's ask him about that unforgettable mission. Sit back and enjoy this special edition. Welcome Air Marshal SRK Nair to this very special edition. And today we would want to hear from you about the inspiring mission, the first and only transpolar flight by an Indian Air Force pilot. And it was on this day, 17 years back, you did that massive feat. So straight away, let me ask you the first question.
Yes.
Whose idea was this to do this transpolar flight?
Well, it is this way. The proposal was from me when I was commanding 44 Squadron and IL-76 Squadron, and the decision and of course the approval was given by Air Headquarters to undertake this transpolar flight. Let me elaborate a little. After 9/11, the geopolitical situation changed in the world and India became a preferred partner for the United States in many aspects. This resulted in us being invited for a defense cooperation exercise in a very large scale in Alaska. As a prelude, I had gone there for the initial planning conference, and at the end of the conference, when driving back from the countryside to the airport, I saw this fascinating northern lights lighting up the sky. So this is where the idea germinated, that we are close to the North Pole. We were at approximately 62 degrees north, and that is when I thought we can fly to the North Pole when we come here for the exercise. That is how it all started. And of course I put forward the proposal, and the Chief of Air Staff then, Air Marshal Krishnaswamy, was more than happy to give us a nod.
All right, so tell us about how challenging the mission was. What kind of preparations went into this long flight?
Yes, it indeed was a huge challenge. Not the length of the flight per se, but primarily navigation was a very big challenge because, as you all know, we fly an aircraft on its compass. Closer to the North Pole, the compass is most unreliable because the magnetic North Pole lies somewhere close to the true North Pole. So the compass is not reliable. There are no ground features. It's all ice, water, snow. So there are no features to go by. We have no other terrestrial navigational facility available. There is no RT because you're far away from the range. So in short, what we normally do to navigate from a place to another is not available when you fly to the North Pole. So the challenge was navigating to the North Pole. And we had to find ways and means of overcoming these challenges. Well, when it comes to preparation, the moment I did a mental calculation and we came to know a North Pole flight is possible from where we are going to exercise, the work started. The more we went into it, we knew it's very complicated. We concluded the only means of navigating to the North Pole is using the gyromagnetic compass of the aircraft and the GPS. So this is where we started with many hurdles and many challenges. Every day we should spend some time towards the North Pole flight before departing for USA.
So, sir, tell us about how many people were there on board this IL-76 and what kind of additional precautions you had to take, what kind of equipment you had on board. And, it was a non-stop flight from the base to back. And how much of distance did you cover? Did you people, had to face any kind of uncertainties? Can you please share some light on all these facts?
Okay, let me start with your first question of number of crew members. The IL-76 is traditionally flown by 7 air crew members, but being exercised in Alaska and this particular mission being extremely challenging, we had taken some additional pilots and additional navigators and some ground crew members to help us in case of any problem in the air. So that is about the number of crew. We were in all about 14 of us. Now coming to preparing for this particular flight, whilst we were operating in Alaska from Eielson Air Force Base near Fairbanks, we realized the GPS we had on board the aircraft, which of course is very old, was not giving us very accurate readings because it was not set for local condition, the deviation, the variation and so on. So we decided that we need to have a locally compatible GPS with all corrections put in for this challenging North Pole flight. So in addition to the compass we had and the GPS which was on board, we bought a GPS in USA. All right. And we used these two GPS, the gyromagnetic compass of the aircraft and the aircraft computer, which is a vintage computer of the 60s design, to navigate to the North Pole.
All right. So what kind of distances did you cover to and fro?
It was about approximately 3,000 kilometers one way. That makes it 6,000 kilometers up and down. And it was a grueling 9 hours and 36 minutes of flying under very difficult conditions because your traditional navigation aids and your maps, charts, ground features, nothing is available to you. So it was a strenuous 9 hours and 36 minutes of flying.
You were a young group captain then, isn't it, when you did that? So tell me also about how much fuel did you carry and what was the capacity, the range of this aircraft? How much time it can fly non-stop without being refueled?
We carried on board the maximum capacity of fuel the aircraft can hold. That is 84.40 tons of fuel. And almost all of it we used up, except for certain reserve, mandatory reserve, which we had when we landed. Actually, we ran into a lot of problems in our flight because we were seeking a very high level to fly to the North Pole and back to cater for better fuel consumption. But there were a lot of problems locally and they had to restrict our flight level because there was no air traffic control. So they told us to restrict to about 24,000 to 26,000 feet. And the fuel consumption actually went up because of this. Nevertheless, we landed back with enough reserve of fuel. Just about 8-9 tons of fuel we had when we landed back.
Sir, we have seen videos, we have seen photographs, we have heard a lot about the Northern Lights, a magnificent sight. It's a treat to your eyes. Could you please explain how was it as an aviator watching the Northern Lights?
Actually, the Northern Lights was a trigger for this true North Pole flight. Northern Lights are brilliant colors emanating from somewhere near the North Pole in the sky, and it flows like a river flows on the land. It constantly changes its course, changes its brilliance, changes the colors as such, and it's something which you cannot get to see anywhere else in the world other than in the poles. It is a It is a really mesmerizing sight, I must say. See, what we achieved was a capability for the Indian Air Force, transpolar capability for the Indian Air Force. So what we did is recorded, and we know that the Indian Air Force is now capable of undertaking transpolar flights. The main advantage being cutting down the travel time when you have to go to the other side of the pole. There's a significant reduction in flying time when you have to go across the North Pole. Recently, maybe about a year back, an Indian Airlines 777, which is a very modern aircraft and very, very well equipped with navigational facilities and modern nav aids, did the same. And by going across the North Pole, they saved about 2 hours of flying, which is a very, very large time to save. Well, as far as the Indian Air Force is concerned, once the transpolar capability has been established, we know it can be done when it needs to be done. And that is probably the reason why we never undertook a second flight, because the capability is already known.
All right, sir. So I was reading a bit about your expedition, and then I came to know that you people did get some kind of inputs from some private airliners like Lufthansa and the pilots of Lufthansa. What kind of feedback did they give?
See, it is this way. When we set out to do this maiden true North Pole flight, we did not really know what are we heading for, because nobody from India has done it ever. So we did a preparation, and to be doubly sure that we prepared well, when in Alaska, my dedicated team, I had a fantastic team. They caught up with the Lufthansa aircrew who operate close to the North Pole, to about 82 degrees north. They met them at the Fairbanks airport and they interacted with them, and soon we realized that we are fairly well prepared, and they gave us the confidence. And they told us, if you have done so much, it will go through very, very smoothly. And also, since we are operating from American soil, the Americans are very particular that we do things very safely. So from the Pacific Air Forces, they send a very senior group captain, a navigator, who had done these flights in their aircraft, to come and interact with us. It was very evident during the interaction, he is actually trying to feel how well prepared are we. So he was the second source who told us, you're very well prepared, you can go through it smoothly. So these are the two inputs we took from people who fly to the North Pole and close to the North Pole.
Sir, as an aviator, is there any other dream you have in your mind you would want to see the young pilots of Indian Air Force would need to undertake? Something similar to these kind of missions. Is there anything that you have in mind?
See, it is this way. There are so many opportunities which come your way when you are in service. I don't think any other profession gives you so many opportunities. I saw a ray of light in the Northern Lights. I grabbed that opportunity, and it went through. A lot of hard work, some heartburns, a lot of preparation, burning the midnight oil. It went through. We looked at Daulat Beg Oldie. We operated to and out of Daulat Beg Oldie in the AN-32 and the C-130. These are all opportunities one get to see in the course of your service career. So why not somebody try the South Pole?
All right, somebody's tried the South Pole.
Why not? Why not?
So since you told about DBO, you were the first to land there as well.
No, I was not the first to land. I was Air Officer Commanding of Chandigarh when an AN-32 aircraft of Air Force Station Chandigarh landed at Daulat Beg Oldie with the Air Officer Commanding in Chief of Western Air Command, Air Marshal Barbara on board. I was overhead in another AN-32. Since you're very close to the line of actual control, I was overhead in another AN-32, keeping an eye on the entire exercise that went on. I must also tell you that in 2013, we landed the Super Hercules, the C-130J Super Hercules at DBO, Daulat Beg Oldie. It was indeed a challenge. I was then an Air Vice Marshal, and I happened to be on board the aircraft, which was being captained by a pupil of mine, Air Commodore Tejbir Singh, when the aircraft landed at Daulat Beg Oldie, once again proving to the world that we, the Indian Air Force, can operate at an elevation of 16,700 feet in a surface of hardened mud. Daulat Beg Oldie is the highest airstrip in the world. So we are extremely proud that we achieved this both on the AN-32 and on the C-130.
So it was the first landing on the C-130 there at...
That's right, yeah.
Recently we actually read about Air Marshal Barbaro's
Yes.
interviews about that particular mission. You have mentored, the first women pilots in the fighter stream of Indian Air Force. You were the CNC and you did a lot of work there. Is there anything that you would want the women pilots to do? Of course, I understand there is no gender bias.
Absolutely.
But still, do you think, one day it will be a matter of great pride? Of course, it will be a matter of great pride, all of us as Indians. So what is that something you would want them to as well attend? Is there anything specific, special you would want to see them doing now that they are already inducted?
You said it, there is no gender bias. What a man is capable of doing in an aeroplane, a woman is capable. So I leave it to their good sense to see what opportunity comes their way and make full use of the opportunity they get. I leave it entirely to them. They are on an equal standing with the men.
So finally, I understand that after you finished this first ever transponder flight, I understand you had an audience with Guru Kalam, the former president. What did he ask you? I'm sure it would have been a very inspiring meeting.
He's an amazing person. The moment I was introduced by my chief of the air staff to the Honorable President then and told that I flew to the North Pole, he came straight to the point. How did the compass behave? So I told him, sir, as expected, the compass misbehaved. So he said, how did you navigate? So we told him, we used the gyromagnetic compass, the aircraft computer, and 2 GPS on board. He absorbed everything and he understood it instantly. And I still remember that smile in his face of happiness that an Indian Air Force aircraft has crossed the North Pole and back.
That's truly inspiring, and we must also tell you, sir, this is the first interview we are doing here in this office from where we have been silently spearheading the missions of Guru Kalam after we moved it to this independent rented place, what we call it as Rameshwaram, the name of this office. So finally, since you have come here for the first time, what are your initial thoughts about Rameshwaram, this office?
It always surprises me the kind of dedication, the kind of perseverance you all have in living up to the vision of a man like the ex-Honorable President of India, Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam. I'm surprised that everything you do is like a vision this gentleman had.
All right, so thank you so much, sir, for sparing your valuable time, driving this far. And, it's always a pleasure to interview, to meet amazing aviators like you. The purpose of this interview is to inspire, hundreds of youngsters who follow Tarmak, who follow our work, and I'm sure this will inspire many more future aviators. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you very much.
All right, so that was Air Marshal SRK Nair sharing with all of us details about his unforgettable transponder flight. He is a very, very inspiring personality. He is a very down-to-earth aviator, and I must tell you that we are very, very proud to have Air Marshal SRK Nair as one of the mentors of Inspired Indian Foundation. And as always, we shall try to get you more such thought-provoking and inspiring stories from India's aerospace and defense sector. And please do remember to send your feedbacks right to me after watching programs on this channel. And I want to thank each one of you for all your support and for all your love and for all your suggestions you keep pouring every day. I value every one of those comments. keep writing to us and keep watching programs on this channel. Thank you. Jai Hind.